you got your projects, and mine is called Flurfunk. And inside that you have your test case design, your Excel spreadsheet, your modules where your application is separated into like an abstraction that allows you to interact with the abstraction as opposed to interacting directly with the web page, which might be complicated. So you hide the complexity inside your modules. And you got your requirements. So if we look inside the requirements, we can see here I've just put in all the obstacle courses, all the obstacle course videos I've done. But you can get into quite sophisticated requirement trees, where you can specify the frequency and the possible damage caused by a issue with that particular requirement. Okay, and in here, although I've left it blank because it's largely irrelevant for the video series that I did on YouTube, you can have the entire team, for example, the business analysts and the product owners, come in here and specify what the frequency class should be and what the damage class should be. So then when you go into test case design and you put in a large data sheet, okay, which contains all of the different variables that determine the behavior of your application, TUSCa can intelligently make good decisions as to what should actually go into your automated test cases. And then obviously you have your test cases, okay, in here. So what that gives you is a complete package. It gives you requirements analysis, it gives you test case design, it gives you automated test case design, it gives you test cases, and then it gives you execution. And in the execution lists, you get all your results, okay? You can see everything in here that you need to see. And obviously you can integrate with things like X-ray, which will give you more advanced dashboarding. So, I don't want to over egg the pudding, but in a nutshell, those are the main features of TUSCa. If you want to expand the scope outside of the main use case that most people use it for, you can get into API-based testing, okay, and it's a reasonably well thought out solution, and it's improving all the time. You can also do mobile testing using Mobile Engine 3. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it because I find it terribly slow and quite buggy. But this is the third iteration of their mobile engine, and it's only going to get better. It will only get better because at the moment you can't even rescan, which is disappointing. Just a cat. What else is there? I could spend a lot of time talking about the over 150 plus different technologies that TUSCa works with. For example, SAP, Siebel, Oracle, Java, all of these things. Pretty much anything you can think of, TUSCa can actually integrate with that. The other thing TUSCa can do is orchestrated service virtualization, which is a fancy way of basically saying it can stub systems that aren't currently available. When it comes to automation, you can have single application web page or single application API, and it's very small potatoes. It's not a big end-to-end system. But for example, if you were architecting the automation for a investment bank, the system under test, application under test is not a system. It's an entire landscape. You may be interacting with, for example, 35 different systems, multiple front ends, multiple middleware components, and multiple back-end systems. This is a situation I found myself presented with several years ago while working in a major Swiss bank. In which case, at any one time, and especially on a Monday morning, at least half of those systems would not be working properly. So you get onto Tuesday or Wednesday, and by Wednesday, 95% of those systems might be working, with orchestrated service virtualization, you can basically pretend that these systems are up and running. So what you could do is you could cherry pick the systems that are actually working reliably, and then the systems that are letting you down or are currently under development, you can get the orchestrated service virtualization to pretend to be that system, and then you can get it to respond to messages that you send, and it will respond back with something that you're expecting. All in all, it's a great feature. And second to last would be the big data, or the data integrity. And by big data, I mean gargantuan data sets. TUSCa has an offering called Data Integrity, and it has the ability to automatically provide basic checking on that data set, which sounds like a trivial thing, but if you're dealing with millions of rows of data, it's non-trivial, just from a data handling perspective, from a programming, back-end perspective. So it allows you to basically check if rows are missing data, if rows and cells and columns don't conform to specific rules, and they basically give you a good starting point when it comes to manipulating data. It's been several years since I looked at that solution, but back then it was quite promising, and I'm sure now it's an excellent choice. Last but not least, talk about TUSCa Server. Many things live within TUSCa Server, but for me the standout component would be the reporting. That's where it basically comes from. But the exploratory server is very, very useful. In many organizations, they will have some test cases which are manually done, written down in a wiki page, and are out of date, or they're just not written down, okay? So with the exploratory server, without having to install TUSCa Commander, any of the additional paraphernalia, you can simply send an invitation to the tester and say, hey, click on this link. You've got 60 seconds. You got 1 minute to demonstrate that test case to me, or maybe 5 minutes. And when the tester opens it up and they start doing it, every single click will be recorded and screenshots will be recorded, and exactly what they did, exactly what they entered. And then the session is over and they say, yeah, that's how that test runs, and then they send it back. Then you, as the automator, you can look at the recording that was captured by the exploratory test server, and it gives you everything you need to know to automate that test case. It can even go so far as to automate some of the test for you. So that's a very, very useful service. Used it quite a bit when I was working for an insurance company. Don't use it so much now, but I definitely see opportunities to use it in the future. So let's wrap this video up. I hope you found it useful to talk about the main features of TUSCa. There are more features, of course, but you know what Google is. Get busy, have a look yourself. But if you have any questions in the comment section below, I can always update this video if you want to know more about a certain area. Take care, like, subscribe, dislike, whatever. Bye.